In today's video, we're checking out the Quilter Aviator Cub solid state amplifier. This is rated at 50 watts. We get a 12-inch speaker and it sounds mighty with or without overdrives. I'm going to showcase this in the context of a jam track with some clean tones directly out of the amp and also with some overdrive thanks to my pedal board on the floor. Now these particular amps are a great pedal platform, so I'm going to showcase the amp tones and then also what you can get out of it if you plan on using some effects. Let's get into it. Welcome back, folks. My name's Shane. You were listening to the tones of the Quilter Aviator Cub. I've had so many requests to review Quilter amps, and up until recently I hadn't had a chance to get my hands on them. So a massive thank you to Matt from AME Audio in Australia for allowing me to review this, and also the UK, which is in the other room right now, and that'll be the next video released from this particular series. I'm very impressed at what this has to offer, and I'm going to talk about why and also why it's such a really great pedal platform. So let's take a look. Here's the top panel of the amplifier. Over here, we've got our 3 input voicings. So we've got our Tweed, Blonde, and Black panel style amps. Now, if you're familiar with Fender, the Tweed amps, the old school sort of heavy mids, pushed mids kind of gnarly sound. Think old school kind of rock and roll or even country or blues. Then we go into the Blonde setting, which is an early 60s amp. These aren't as well known as the Tweed or the Black panel amps like the Princeton or the 65 Deluxe or Fender Twin. And thanks to the active EQ controls here, you can get so many different tones out of this amp. So if you're more partial to a Twin sound or a Deluxe Reverb or Princeton, for example, the active EQ makes scooping and changing the sound very easy. The mids control kind of interacts with the low end as well, so you can experiment around and get a vastly different sound just by moving these a little bit. We get a send and return effects loop over here, so if you've got a favorite delay you want to run through the effects loop, for example, you can do that as well. For today's video, I'll just be doing everything through the main inputs. We get a digital reverb tank. Now, some people are against this kind of tech. I actually really like it for a couple of reasons. One, the tank can never go bad, unless of course something goes wrong with the amp, but it allows you to move the amp around with it on and not hear it clang or do anything weird, which is awesome. It actually sounds very convincing to the point where it was after I started testing this I realized, hey, the reverb isn't actually a tank in the back. It's just a little control on the top and some sort of chip on the inside. So they've done a great job with the reverb. One of the things that really impressed me with this amplifier is the fact that we get 2 outputs. We've got our line output and headphone output, and you can change the volume of that output with this pot right here. This also allows you to have a cab sim on. So if you're going out over headphones, you can listen to it. It's going to sound really nice. And if you're going out into a PA system or audio interface to record directly, it's going to sound like a finished guitar track, and a really nice one. It's not just a standard line out. So they've done a great job with this. Over here, we've got our speaker volume output. This is kind of like the master volume of the amp. If you're, say, recording and you don't need the built-in speaker, you can just turn this all the way down and you're in business. This is a single channel amplifier experience. So you've got your master volume over here and your gain control over on this side. Once you select which input you want to use, that's it. Nice and simple. We get a 12-inch custom designed Quilter speaker in here, and this is a really big magnet as well, but the great news is the amp is still nice and light, and I'll put the weight on screen. Including the box, we get a power cable, a manual, and also a nice amp slip cover. And this allows you to store your cables and all that kind of stuff in the little pocket on the front. Before we get into this video, thank you to Matt from AME Audio in Australia for sponsoring this video. If you want to take a look at this, I'll link it down below. Just know all thoughts about this are my own. I don't follow any scripts and no one gets to preview this video ahead of launch. So if you do appreciate the video, drop a thumbs up and check out the links in the description. Let's get into it. All right, let's kick it off. I'm playing my Kiesel. This is loaded with 3 single coil pickups. It's kind of like a mix between a Strat and a Tele. And I've got the amp mic'd up with a Shure SM57 and a Sennheiser E906. Now we're going to start in the black panel input, which gives you those classic tones from like the Princeton or the Deluxe Reverb, for example, and it's just a really musical sound. The master's up at 12 o'clock. Even with the gain up like this, it's not going to be that dirty, which is what I really like about it. It just adds a bit of oomph to the sound. Here we go. It's got that nice punchy sound. Yeah, I really dig it. So if you want to get a little bit more drive, you can just turn it up. And this gets into that over the edge of breakup sound that the Deluxe Reverb and amps like the Princeton are known for. So let's have a listen to this. It's a different sound to the actual Fender Deluxe Reverb. It's maybe not as round sounding, but it's still very reminiscent of that particular sound with a tighter low end, which will appeal to players who find the Fender amps a little bit on the flubby side. And this is maximum gain on the same channel, so this gets you into the saturated overdrive sound. Again, no pedals or anything. Here we go. Yeah. Now we're over to the blonde input on the amplifier, which is giving us that early 60s kind of vibe. But again, even with the gain up like this, it's not dirty. It's got a really great feel to it, slightly different kind of voicing to the black input that we were just in. Let's give it a shot. That sounds beautiful. That's Fender tone all day. And now with the gain control almost all the way up, and this is getting into that old school kind of blues territory. Let's have a listen to this. Now if you find that too bright, it's nice and easy to make adjustments. Let's add a little bit of mids and low end as well. Yeah, that's great. And again, if you use your volume control with this amp, it's as dynamic as any great amplifier out there. Over to the Tweed input. Now I've got this set up so it's over the edge of breakup. I always think Tweed amps sound best once you get them past the point of clipping, and this does it beautifully. I've re-EQ'd it a little bit as well. Have a listen to this. Neck pickup. pretty good. Bridge. Yeah. And now with the gain cranked, I've actually had to back off the master for the first time because this got loud once I started pushing the amp into overdrive mode by just cranking up the drive like this. But this is reminiscent of the old school kind of rock and roll sound. Have a listen. Almost sounded like it wanted to feed back. I should have left it up loud. One of the most impressive things about the Quilter Cub is it's a real pedal platform. It's much like the Peavey Bandit back here, where as you stack your overdrives in your signal chain, it's going to get louder. So I'm going to showcase how this sounds with a bit of drive now, thanks to my pedal board, and I may even click in my delay pedal, but this is my clean tone. Here we go. Sounds every bit like it should. Now I'm going to click in the clon, and again it's going to get louder and fuller. Let's have a listen. I did click the delay in throughout that little last section there, but man, what a tone. It's doing exactly as it should. It's handling the drive. It's also, again, cascading in terms of volume, which I love. Let's switch guitars. Over to my ES335, and notice I haven't touched the amp. It's set up exactly the same. I haven't touched my pedals or anything. So we're going to do the same test quicker this time and just show you how it handles all these pedals, starting with the delay on bridge pickup. Yeah, that is awesome. That is unreal. I'm really impressed with how this handles pedals. Now we're going to check out maybe the weirdest thing on the amp, and I'll show you what it is. Over to the limiter. Now this particular feature's a little bit different. I've never seen one of these before, but we're going to have both sides of the Royal Flush dual overdrive pedal on for this test. And as I bring it down, you'll hear the amp open up. So this is limiting the amount of drive that will be heard out of the speaker, but at the same time, it's giving you more sustain, but it's also dropping your volume. Now, if you want less drive, I would just turn down the drive on the pedal, but we'll give it a go. This is bridge pickup. I thought for sure it was going to limit the amount of feedback the amp and guitar would generate, but it's still able to get into that zone depending on sort of how much drive you throw at it. But yeah, I'm not sure I really understand the purpose of this feature, but if you know more about it and you're experienced with this particular amp and you actually use that feature, let us know. On the right-hand side of the amplifier, if you're facing it, are two outputs. One is a line level output, which also enables a cab sim. So if you want to go directly into a PA system, or record directly, it's going to sound like what I'm about to show you. And this is also the same for the headphone output as well. The quality is fantastic. So this is clean. I'm using the black input on the amp neck pickup with just a little bit of delay. Let's have a listen to this. It's a great way of just getting a really polished tone to a PA system or for direct recording like this. I'll just play a quick lead pass here with the left side of the Royal Flush on. Here we go. I'm listening to that through my studio monitors and it really does sound like a recorded amplifier. So let us know what you think. All right, let's wrap this up. I'm going to give you my final thoughts here on the Quilter Aviator Cub, and I'm going to talk about some of the pros and cons. But am I impressed with the Quilter amplifier? Yes, it's exceeded my expectations. You know, the Peavey Bandit's been kind of like the gold standard for me for years when it comes to solid state amplifiers. Sure, there's plenty of other great ones out there as well, many of which I've covered on the channel, but this feels like a modern upgrade of the Peavey Red Stripe Bandit back here. It feels and sounds great in the room. It might not have the same sort of tonal versatility because they've gone for something different with this. It's basically a Fender style amp in a Quilter solid state amplifier. And this is the one thing missing from Fender's range is something like this, solid state Fender amp. So Quilter have sort of stepped in and made something that's light, portable, it's got a great speaker, it's full of plenty of great tones, the sustain and feel and all those things are there, and it's an epic pedal platform. I would have no hesitations using this or recommending it for live players. I play live probably twice a month, maybe 3 times a month, and this would be easily loud enough to cut any blues jam I've been to. It peels the paint off the walls. Now, it's not as loud without pedals. If you're just going to be playing it clean, you still get a nice high headroom clean sound, but it's definitely way louder once you start slamming the front end with your overdrives and effects and all that kind of thing. Maybe the only thing about this that I'm not a huge fan of is the limiter control. I'm not really sure its purpose. Again, if you want less drive, turn the drive down on your pedal. There's no reason to have it on an amp like this if the gain stage isn't already high. So they've designed it for pedals, which it says in the manual as well, but your pedals are nice and easy to adjust. So I don't know, maybe I'm missing something with this. Maybe there's some sort of special thing that this does that you won't find in most amplifiers, but I would just leave that all the way off. Set up your tone and you'll be in business. The line output has really surprised me to no end. I didn't expect it to have like a cab sim IR on there, and it does, so it records beautifully. There is a difference in the feel recording into a computer with this as opposed to how the amp feels in the room, but this is always the case. It kind of puts it in line with like a Fender Tone Master. They also have that capability, but they're a full digital amplifier. This is a solid state amp with an IR output, which I think is pretty much a perfect combination. Again, I would have no problems recommending this. While it doesn't seem to have the girth and flexibility of the Peavey Bandit, at least as a first impression, it has a really great Fender sound. And if you're looking for that, I think this amplifier is an absolute no-brainer. I wouldn't buy this to use it without pedals. I would use it as a pedal platform, and for that, it really gets the big thumbs up. So they've done a great job. The speaker quality is great. The versatility is great. I know I didn't showcase the ability to go into 2 inputs at once with a Y cable. I just don't have one of those cables, so I can't show you that. But man, I tell you what, I'm very impressed with the tones. It's got an effects loop. It does all the things. So yeah, let us know what you think of the tones of this thing. I'm really impressed. If you want to take a look, I'll link it down below. Massive thanks to Matt from AME Audio for letting me showcase this on the channel. I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.